Okay, so this is Algebra 1, Chapter 6 review. Again, we're using the Bob Jones curriculum, and so this is slope-intercepts, both x and y, parallel and perpendicular lines, graphing linear functions and inequalities, and we'll also cover writing the equation of a line. All right, again, you're just going to sit back and watch. I'm going to go kind of quickly here, and so just see what's going on. All right, standard form. Remember, standard form is ax plus by equals c. To do that, then, there are four things. The variables have to be on the left, the number on the right. The variables have to be in alphabetical order. There can be no fractions. And number four, the lead variable must be positive. Okay, the easiest way to approach this problem is to get rid of the fractions. And that's to multiply everything by the LCD. I'll multiply the 7 by 30, the 5x over 6 by 30, and the 2y over 15 by 30. Okay, in doing this then, I get 210 plus 6 goes into 35, 25x equals 15 goes into 30 twice, 4y. All right, I'm close. Let's move the y to the other side by adding its opposite, so that's a negative 4y. Let's move the 210 to the other side by adding its opposite, negative 210. And there you are, we are in standard form. We have the variables in alphabetical order. There are no fractions. The lead variable is positive, and the variables are on the right, on the left, and the number is on the right. Standard form. Okay, it's about as hard as it can be. Anything else is just manipulating, usually by adding the opposite. Okay, second scenario, x and y intercepts. So for this situation, we've got for 3x minus 4y equals 12, the x and the y-intercepts. Okay, for an x-intercept, any x-intercept, the y-coordinate is 0, so you do y equals 0. So take your function, and where the y is, put in 0. So you have 3x minus 4 times 0 equals 12. Therefore, 3x equals 12, and therefore x equals 4. So the x-intercept is x equals 4. If they want it in coordinate form, it'll be a 4, 0, right? The x-intercept. For the y-intercept, every y-intercept, the x-coordinate is 0. So this time we're going to set the x-coordinate equal to 0. All right? We end up with a negative 4y equals 12 and y equals negative 3. Again, if they want it in coordinate form, that's the point 0, negative 3. Now, don't forget, if you want to, you can graph a linear function by using the intercept. So if I graph 4, 0, it's right there, x-intercept. The y-intercept, 0, negative 3. Right there, and that is the line that goes between them. Okay, so x and y intercepts, how do you solve them mathematically? If you want the x-intercept, you need to find x, put in 0 for y. If you want to find the y-intercept, you need to find y, therefore put in 0 for x. Solve it mathematically, you'll get your x and your y-intercepts. All right, next thing is slope. What if they give you 2 points and they want the slope? Okay, you have to remember the slope formula. Slope formula, m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1, the vertical change, divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1, the horizontal change. And if you remember, I told you guys it's smart to label your points, the x of point 1, the y of point 1, the x of point 2, and the y of point 2. Let's sub in our values. Y sub 2 is a 3. We have our negative sign from our formula, and y sub 1 is negative 5. Be careful with that negative to negative. On the bottom, x sub 2 is a negative 1, and x sub 1 minus from the formula, x sub 1 is a 4. All right, our top ends up being, this is a plus of course, 8, and our bottom ends up being negative 5, 1 negative and 4 more negatives, 5 negatives, and we should clean this up and finally say that our slope is negative 8/5. Now, let me go to the graph and show you these points. So we got a point at 4, negative 5, which is right there, and we have a point at negative 1, 3, which is right there. Now, notice what happens to get from one point to the next. I got to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I went down 8, right? That's negative 8. And I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. Positive 5. Isn't that our slope? Negative 8/5. Sure enough, it is. Okay? Sure enough, it is. And if you wonder, well, what about the positive 8 over negative 5? Again, don't forget, I can go this way. I can go up 8. And I can go left 5. And there's your positive 8 over negative 5. Okay? Finding the slope of 2 points, you got to know that formula. I will not supply it for you. You have to know it. Number 4, slope-intercept form. Really, really important form. Y equals mx plus b, where we know that our m is the slope, and we know that our b is the y-intercept. So m is the slope, b is the y-intercept. A is already in proper form. The slope is negative 2, and the y-intercept is 4. Now remember, we can graph from slope-intercept form. So we're going to graph the y-intercept first. And a 4, remember, is the point 0, 4. So the point 0, 4, 4 up on the y-axis. From there, I'm going to use my slope. Remember, a negative 2 is a negative 2 over 1. The top is up or down. Negative is down. The bottom is left, right. Positive is right. I need to go down 2 and to the right 1 from my y-intercept. Down 2 to the right 1. There's my second point. Draw the line. Okay, so there's that first line. There's that first line. Second one. The second situation, we're not in slope-intercept form already, right? Right here. So we have to put it in slope-intercept form. Okay. Add a negative 2x to both sides, right? And now we have negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 9. We got to move the negative 3, so we'll divide each term by negative 3. Getting rid of that, right? And we end up with y equals 2/3 x minus 3. Again, if I wanted to graph this, I'll do this one in green. I do want to say what my slope is. My slope is 2/3. I do want to say what my y-intercept is. My y-intercept is negative 3. Go to negative 3 on the y-axis, plot your y-intercepts right there. Use your slope. Positive 2 is up 2. Remember, the top is up or down. Positive 3 is right 3. Remember, the bottom is right left. Up 2 from the y-intercept and to the right 3 gets me that point right there. Draw your line through them. And that is B. All right, this one was A. All right, be careful with something like C. C can give students trouble. This is really short for y equals 0x minus 3. So what is the slope? 0. This is a horizontal line. What is the value of the y-intercept to be? Negative 3. Okay, if I were to graph this, I would go to negative 3. I'm going to do this one in blue. I would go to negative 3 on the y-axis and put a point. But then, knowing that this is a horizontal line, I would draw a horizontal line through that y-intercept of negative 3. And again, the reason is, no matter what point you pick on this horizontal line, the y-coordinate is negative 3. To be honest with you, in effect, every guy in the world is dating girl negative 3. Every guy. That's the situation. No matter what x value you pick, the y value is negative 3. No matter what. Now, D is a little trickier. B is a little trickier because you can't really put it in the slope-intercept form because there is no y. You can't have y equals. So you just have to know that x equals 4 is a vertical line through the x-coordinate of 4. And you just have to know that. It's a vertical line. X equals is a vertical line through that x-coordinate. You have to know that. Now, from looking at the vertical line, can you tell me the slope? And you should say infinity. Again, some want to say undefined, right? But infinity, it's an infinitely large slope. And what is the B, what is the y-intercept on this one? And the y-intercept, where does this vertical line cross this vertical y-axis? And the answer is nowhere. And so you have to say none. You can't say 0 because 0 is the point 0. You have to say none. All right, you should be able to do that. I showed you the graphs of them all. And so that's an important aspect. A lot of this on the test on Thursday. Okay, write the equation of the line. Remember, to write the equation of the line, you should immediately think of y equals mx plus b. And that should tell you, hey, self, I only need to know 2 things to write the equation of the line. I need the slope, and I need the y-intercept. If I know those 2 things, I put them in for the slope and y-intercept, and voila, I have the equation of the line. All right, I'm not going to do the easy kind where they tell you the slope and they tell you the y-intercept. I will remind you, however, if they give you a point like 0, 7, you should remember, oh, that's the y-intercept, because whenever the x is 0, the other number is the y-intercept. Okay, but we're not going to do one like that. We'll do A here. They tell us the point, 6, 4, and a slope of 5/3. Now, I told you guys a lot use the point slope form, but we use y equals mx plus b. It's one less thing to remember. So go ahead if you want to use a point slope formula, but y equals mx plus b is so much easier to remember. It's only one thing. Okay, so here's our m. We're going to sub that in. Remember, this point has x and y coordinates. So our y is 4, our m is 5/3, our x, right there, is 6 plus b. Let me reduce this fraction. That's a 2. So right now I'm at 4 equals 10 plus b. I'm going to simply add a negative 10 to both sides of this equation, and I end up with negative 6 equals b. As soon as you know m and you know b, you're ready to write the equation of the line. I have a slope of 5/3, and I have a y-intercept of negative 6. Okay, slope of 5/3 and a y-intercept of negative 6. Now, I can graph that. Y-intercept of negative 6, let's see, and that's going to get me a little bit off my chart, but that's okay. That's all right. We can do that. So a y-intercept of negative 6, negative 4, negative 5, right about there. And we've got to use our slope, go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to the right 3, 1, 2, 3, and we got a point right there. And that's our line right there. Okay, that's A. Second scenario, they give you just 2 points and say write the equation of the line. Now again, you're thinking y equals mx plus b. I need m, I need b. Remember, if you don't know either, you always have to find m first. How? By using the slope formula between 2 points. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Sub in your values. Again, I'm going to be smart, and I'm going to say x1, y1, x2, y2, so I don't make a mistake. Y sub 2 is 8, minus from the formula. Y sub 1 is 4, bottom. X sub 2 is 1, minus from the formula. X sub 1 is 3. I end up with 4 over negative 2, and therefore my slope is negative 2. Okay, I have my slope. How do I get my y-intercept? Remember, we don't use the point slope formula. You can, but we're again going to use y equals mx plus b, and we're going to use either points. Doesn't matter. I'll use the first point, put the y value 4 in for y, put the m, negative 2, in for m, put the x value 3 in for x plus b. Solve the little equation. This is a negative 6, add a positive 6 to both sides. 4 plus 6 is 10. 10 equals b. Are you now ready to write the equation of the line? Sure. Y equals our m, negative 2x, plus our b of 10. And that one's off my graph, so I'm not going to go ahead and do that one. But that's where we would end up with that one, right? Okay, so what else? What else? What if they give it to you in graph form? Let's look at A here, and I'm going to actually erase this line. We don't need it. Let's look at what if they give you a graph and say write the equation of the line. Okay, I gave you the hardest possible. You really can't tell the y-intercept. You'd be guessing. Okay, you could actually make a logical guess, but regardless. Look for two clear points. Let's get the slope. There's a clear point, and there's a clear point. Okay, I go down 1, that's a -1. I go right 3, that's a +3. My slope is -1 over 3 and -1/3. How do I get my y-intercept? Again, y equals mx plus b. I can choose either point. I'm going to use this point right here. Its coordinates are 1, 4. I'm going to put 4 in for the y. I'm going to put -1/3 in for m. I'm going to put 1 in for x plus b. I have a -1/3. I'm going to add a +1/3 to both sides. Okay, common denominator. 12/3 and 1 more third is 13/3. Am I now ready to write the equation of the line? I sure am. Y equals my slope of -1/3 plus my y-intercept of 13/3. And there we go. Write the equation of the line. Sixth thing, parallel and perpendicular lines. Parallel and perpendicular lines. Okay. So remember y equals mx plus b. That's important. You have to remember that parallel lines have what? Same slope. So you got to remember parallel lines have the same slope. You also have to remember perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. Okay, negative reciprocals. So, first off, what if they asked us to find a line parallel to this line? Any line. Okay. All I have to do is say the slope is 5/3. Therefore, the slope of my new line is 5/3. What's the y-intercept? Well, I don't want it to be the same line, so I'll just choose anything I want. Let's go with 2. I now have a parallel line. Let me graph these. Look at the first line. I'm going to graph the y-intercept of 0, -1. I'm now going to use my slope. Up 5 into the right 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. I went up 5 from my y-intercept into the right 3 and drew that point. And therefore now my line is right here. My new line here, I'll do this one in black. Y-intercept of 2. Go up 2 on the y-axis. Use my slope up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To the right 3. 1, 2, 3. Right there. And if I draw well, those lines will look parallel. And they do, don't they? They do. Let me do the second problem, the harder type. Because not only do we want a perpendicular line to this line, we also want it to go through this point, 5, -1. Okay, first off, you have to think, what is going to be the slope of my perpendicular line? Well, again, you have to say, what is the negative reciprocal of 5/3? Okay, it's a positive 5/3, so mine is going to be a negative. Negative means one's positive, one's negative. What's the reciprocal of 5/3? 3/5. So my slope of my line is going to be -3/5. Notice what we have now. We have the slope and we have a point. Can't we then therefore find the b value? We just did that a couple times when we were writing the equation of the line. So I'm going to take y equals mx plus b. Remember, the 5 is the x and the -1 is the y. Where the y is, I'm going to stick in the -1. Where the m is, I'm going to stick in -3/5. Where the x is, I'm going to stick in 5 plus b. And this one's kind of nice because the 5's divide out. I have a -3 on the right. I'm going to add a +3 to both sides. And therefore, I end up with a 2 on the left. B equals 2. So what is my perpendicular line to that one that goes to the point 5, 1? Y equals m, -3/5 x plus 2. Let's take a look at it. Y-intercept of 2, slope down 3 to the right 5. Right there, does that green line look perpendicular to the blue and the black? They are. They are perpendicular, and I just found a perpendicular line through a given point. Okay, last thing, graphing inequalities. Again, how are we going to graph inequalities? Slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. We have to remember, though, that the inequality symbol tells us that to use either a dotted or solid line, and also an inequality symbol says we have to shade the solution set one side of the line. Our first example is already in slope-intercept form, and hopefully you agree your slope is 5/3, and your y-intercept is -1, or the point 0, -1. Let me graph the y-intercept at 0, -1. The slope 5/3, the top is positive is up, negative is down, so that's up 5. The bottom is positive is right, negative is left, so that's right 3. So I'm going to go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to the right 3, 1, 2, 3. There's my second point. I'm going to look at my symbol. It's less than. It's not less than or equal to. Remember, the line is the equal to part, so I'm going to do a dotted line. Dotted line. Shade, again, I look at my inequality symbol. Less than is below, because remember, the shading is above or below. Less than is below. I shade below the line. There we go. Last example, I've got to put this into y equals mx plus b form. Okay, I can do that. I'm going to add a -2x to both sides. I'm sorry about that. Let me put the pen back. I'm going to add a -2x to both sides. I have -5y equals -2x plus 10. I'm now going to divide by -5. And I remember whenever multiplying or dividing by a negative quantity with an inequality, you reverse the symbol. This gives me 2/5 x minus 2. Let me graph that. Y-intercept, -2. 0, -2. What is my slope? A positive 2/5, up 2 and to the right 5. So from there, go up 2 to the right 5. There's my point. Do I draw a solid or a dotted line? I draw a solid line because the points of the line are also part of the solution. And remember, I got a shade. Greater than is above the line. I'll shade everything above the line. Okay, you got it? Hey, as long as you can do all that, you're going to do great on Thursday. I hope you'll take advantage of this review, and I hope it'll be a help to you. Have a great night.